On today's video, let's look at King skills. That is right, they're finally in game after the last update, and we're going to talk about that. Show you guys all the numbers, everything you need to know from tax and its buff, as well as a very reasonable tax, Imprison for 15 minutes, and leader that lasts for a good 10 minutes and gives a nice buff. We're gonna go over all the numbers and everything you need to know, including cost and all that good stuff in this video, so sit back, drop a like on the video. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Gekko Gaming. Today, we got finally the skills. Look, portal disappeared and skills became a thing. I guess they scrapped the portal idea. This is the Lost Temple menu, and we're gonna go look through these skills. Before we start though, sponsored content creator by Rising Kingdoms, and if you enjoy the content, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to get a notification when I upload a new video every single day. I think like 57% of you are not subscribed last time I looked. Welcome to all the new viewers. I hope to earn your subscription today. Here is the deal. As a regular player, non-kinged player, you cannot even look at the skills page. Only king can use this function. So I'm assuming a big part of you are not kings, including myself, and so we couldn't access this. This is why we're using images in this video, which I'm not a big fan of doing, but we had to. Curiously enough, with bad things come good things, and a very, very kind king from Kingdom 874 reached out to me and was like, yo, I believe you're gonna need this because you're probably gonna wanna make content about this. So here you go. And he took a bunch of screenshots and explained everything to me. Shout out to Kingdom 287, wow, 874. Kingdom 874, big shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys very much. I believe it's your king that hit me up. Even if it isn't, awesome. Thank you very much. It's really cool that someone was like, you're probably gonna wanna use this. Here you go, rather than me asking. And really, really kind of them. So when you click on skills, you get here. The 3 skills are finally here, and we're gonna go through all of them, images of them and what they do and all that. Let's very briefly read through what you need to know in here. For tax, it increases resource gathering speed for 30% for 8 hours. All governors in the kingdom, while the skill is active, 1% of all resources gathered goes to the king, up to 10 million per resource type. Listen, that is not the worst thing I've seen on Earth. It's definitely not the worst thing I've seen on Earth. I feel like you'll probably hit the cap as a kingdom, and then that's that. What it doesn't say is that there is a cooldown on this, which is a 20-hour cooldown. So every 20 hours, the king can request taxes. The problem is it costs gems. It costs a good amount of gems. I believe taxes is 4,000. We're going to see that later on, but I don't know if it's worth taxing the kingdom, quite honestly, for 10 million of each resource type. Just saying. Imprison, we knew about Imprison that disables the city to teleport for 15 minutes. That's not the worst number I've ever heard. I think the cooldown on this is 4 hours. I'm not entirely sure though. We're gonna have to get back to this one. If any of you have the answer, leave a comment down below of how long each one of these is cooldowned, and I'll pin it just to make sure that I'm right with the numbers that I have here. 15 minutes is not terrible, and spoiler alert, you can definitely shield if you're not in War Frenzy, so it's not the worst thing on Earth. Maybe it could be, but it's not the worst thing on Earth. Leader, choose a troop to act as the leader troop. When this skill is casted, the leader troop will grant 3% bonus to all damage dealt by nearby troops for 10 minutes. This skill only enhances troops and rallies fighting on the world map, and not troops in garrison. So you can actually even buff up a rally, which is super, super dope in my opinion. And now you're not gonna only have to swarm the rally, you're also probably gonna wanna swarm the active leader, who's gonna wanna be a super tanky march to not get wrecked, right? So really interesting how they did this with leader, and it costs a good amount of gems too. So I'm not very sure whether or not all of these will get used, if at all, because the gem cost is quite drastic. Let's look at the first one, Imprison. Imprison costs 3,000 gems to imprison someone for 15 minutes. I really don't know how much that's worth it. When you imprison someone, poor dude got imprisoned. Yeah, he got locked down. He got locked down. He gets this little chain on him. As you can see, he can bubble, so that's not the worst thing on Earth. He's unbubbled in here, and he can bubble while imprisoned. So this is a this is how cool these guys are. They literally thought of all the possible tests that we might want to see and ask, and so they did it for us. Essentially, this guy in here just procced 14 minutes and 15 seconds left on his imprison, and he is unshielded, and he's in the same spot, and you can see now he's still in the same spot. Curiously, oh no, the trees didn't grow, never mind. He's in the same spot exactly, except that he managed to shield. So you can do that. Imprison is not the worst thing on earth if you're not in War Frenzy. If you are, it could be a problem. And there's a 3-hour cooldown on it, I see now. So maybe there was 4 hours. I'm not entirely sure what's the total number, but there's at least 3 hours that you can see in here. And that's Imprison. By the way, this is what it looks like when you're imprisoned. You are affected by the skill Imprison. Cannot use City Teleport, which is pretty neat. As I said, these guys thought of everything. So really, really cool. I really appreciate the effort of just doing this for the community. That's super cool. And this is how it looks like on the poor guy's screen. You have been affected by the King's Imprison, causing you cannot City Teleport for the next 15 minutes. That's actually dope. I really like this concept. I really do, although the chain kind of just like disappears here. So maybe he can get out through here. But this is super cool. That is Imprison. Leader, the skill is actually fairly cheap. It costs 500 gems. I believe the cooldown on this is 5 minutes. This works for 10 minutes and there's a 5-minute cooldown. I'm not entirely sure though about that number either. 500 gems and you activate the bonus, and this is like, it's interesting. Look at that radius. That's actually a very, very, very big radius, but I love the fact that it's around the person, so you have to be halfway in order to get, like, if I wanted to get this guy, this rally buffed up, I'd have to be halfway to it rather than to be able to be here and cast it so that while I'm standing here, it goes all the way this way. It's actually very, very neat and really cool. And 500 gems is a decent price, but remember that March can get, and then you're out, gems out the window. Very interesting how people will take that in account. And as you can see, I believe it's a 5-minute cooldown overall. You can see the awesome animation right next to it, just like Osiris League, really. It's just like that reuse of the Osiris League thing. I'm assuming this will add a ton of lag, which I'm not a big fan of. Lilith, you might want to think twice about this thing, because we're already lagging like nuts in the Ancient Ruins and Altars of Darkness. With this going like the yellow thing around the marches, you simplified graphics of the marches and then you added like circles around the marches for the skill. Yeah. I'm not a fan. Not a fan, but it still looks super cool. This is tax, and this is how a tax looks like. This, by the way, is the king getting taxed. Yes, that is right. The king also gets taxed, right? Granted, he gets it back, but still, it counts towards the total amount that you can get. So this is how it looks like when you are taxed. When you're taxed and you don't have one of these, for example, where you have a march that doesn't have commanders that give extra resources in them, it'll look like this in red negative. And if you do have them, then it'll just get deducted, like you can see, which is kind of neat and very cool. I like the fact that the king gets taxed. I like the fact that there's a limit to how much you can get taxed and all that good stuff. I definitely dig this. And there's one more thing here. As we mentioned, when you use the tax, king skill, you gain 30% extra gathering speed, and that now counts right there. Skill, a new line there in the food gathering speed, for example, with a 30% extra skill. Don't take a look at his stats if you don't mind. He's just a farm, an alt farm. His stats are all right for an alt farm, honestly, but still, skill 30% shows up in your skills and your buffs and stuff like that. So that's kind of neat. And yeah, those are the 3 skills. I don't really know how much they'll get used. At 3,000 for Imprison, I believe it's 4,000 for tax. Those are very big numbers for gems. To imprison someone for 15 minutes and 3,000 gems, I mean, if you're someone who has boatloads of gems anyways, then sure. But I don't really see the usability of it. Maybe it is useful if someone's in War Frenzy and he's about to bail out, so you lock him in and then like, oh, you're screwed. But that's 3,000 gems and it's a very situational use. I think that's what it'll be used for, more in a very specific situational thing. Now, I also can point out that you can't use 2 skills at the same time. I think there's like a 5-minute cooldown between them. I don't think these guys were capable of testing what happens when there's multiple kings. Like, what happens when you're in a KVK and 2-3 kingdoms are there trying to stop you. If you're in War Frenzy, though, even if you are in a full War Frenzy when you get imprisoned, after 15 minutes, you're not in War Frenzy anymore. So reusing Imprison to hold you there to keep rallying you, it doesn't work because you can also shield, right? So I like the balance. I don't really see the usability of it yet, but I do like the fact that it's not stupid broken. I'd rather something be less useful and expensive that it will not get used and then they'll find a better use for it than a stupidly broken system that'll take them months and months to realize they made a mistake about. Cough, cough. Tax is kind of neat. I actually do like tax. When I saw tax in the beginning, I was like, but I do really like it. 30% gathering speed, 8 hours worth of a buff. You're limited to 10 million per resource. So in 8 hours, it is doable for a big kingdom to really quickly get that out of the way and then keep gathering. The price of it, though, at 4,000 gems is ridiculous for a king. I don't see which king on earth is willing to pay 1,000, I guess 1,000 gems for 10 million resources is not that expensive. If you're in a kingdom that can do that, I mean, 1,000 gems, realistically, even 2-3 million of each type might be good. I don't know. If you're someone who spends gems on resources, then this might be good for you. I don't know. I think this is okay. This is okay. It seems expensive to me, but like as I'm thinking about it while talking, I'm thinking about it out loud with you guys, which is usually what I do when I make a video, it's okay. It seemed early on a little expensive, but it's okay. I think that 40 million resources for 4,000 gems is not the worst thing on earth. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below and let me know. Finally, leader is kind of neat. I love the fact that it's only 500 gems. 500 gems is a lot of gems, but it's not like a crazy amount. It's active for 10 minutes. You get a 5-minute cooldown and then you can go again. It's a kind of like a gambler's game, right? Because if that March gets hit, it's GG. Ripped off those 500 gems, right? So it's not only just use the gems, go, use, stats. It actually adds another facet to the game where now it's like, hey, there is a leader somewhere in here, we're in trouble. The question is, can your opposition see that those marches are being buffed, and can the opposition see who the leader is? I asked this to Lilith, and hopefully we'll get an answer very soon. But I'm okay with it. These skills seemed meh. Now they are, all right, I'll take you. They're not terrible. They're not good. They're not broken. But they are a new facet into Rise of Kingdoms that seems like an experimental facet that they could potentially take on later on for much bigger and more cool and influential things. As a first batch, as a first tentative, first batch kind of thing, 2 thumbs up for me. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below and let me know. I'm Gekko. I'm out of here. I appreciate every single one of you. Drop the like on the video. Of course, subscribe to the channel. Joined us on Discord, which is described in the link description down below. Joined us, bought the merch. Gekko merch available now. Link as well in the description below. Cop that merch today while you still can. I'll see you guys on stream tomorrow. Take care and have a good one. Peace.